Okay, today is March 4th, Saturday. So, this caused several hours of extra work. So, if you look at where those pre-drilled holes are in the back of the vertical stabilizer, this hinge, the way I put it on, and I don't know if there was really any other option, because you got to have enough space from the edge to rivet that on. But this hinge is not wide enough to reach that. I mean, it sort of is, but it's right near the edge, and it wouldn't be terribly secure. So what I did was I got a flat piece of aluminum that's the exact same width or thickness as the hinge. Cut out a wider piece, riveted that to the hinge, and then put another piece of that same aluminum on the front end and riveted across, basically in the same place. Kind of in the center of the actual mounting holes. So when this goes in, it'll have lots of purchase to mount up against the vertical stabilizer. You can see that little mark right there that I made to see where it was going to go in. And you got to leave a little bit of space here for the hinge to move, so you can't just like butt it right up against. It just doesn't work. So I made that mark, and I'm like, oh, that is so close. I'm really not comfortable with that. So it's a lot of extra work. I mean, it's basically a whole day to cut that out, trim it, get it perfectly sized and everything, and then rivet it on and countersink all the rivets. So getting those all flush took more time than it normally would too. So but this is done now. I'm just going to cleco this on. Obviously I need to drill the actual holes on this, but I'm just going to cleco it on because it'll definitely need to come apart at one stage to get everything together. But for now, I'll just keep it clecoed. So that's about it for today. Okay, today is March 5th, Sunday, and this is all attached with the clecos. That's swiveling just fine, and my solution to mount that rudder properly worked out fine. One other thing, even though on camera, especially the blue actually looks quite nice, it's just not smooth enough. So and I've started looking at other options, and this was a really good experiment to at least eliminate options. And although I could continue doing this, I think what I'm going to do is sand this down perfectly smooth and paint it completely like bright white, and then use vinyl to do the similar design, except there will be white pinstripes showing through on the white part. I'm really liking how the 3M and some of the other vendors vinyl goes on, and the look of it is just spectacular. If you still got to get this all smoothed out, because anything will show through the vinyl, but I think that's a better way to go. I mean, this looks okay, but it doesn't look stellar. I mean, I probably spent $100 on paint and probably a little bit more on supplies, but and it was a good experiment to at least eliminate, okay, that's not what I want. It's not good enough. If I took it to a spray booth and really did it properly, yeah, they could probably make it look fantastic. But I just really like the idea of the vinyl, and I'm probably going to stick with the same colors. It'll be a little bit lighter blue. Actually, I should probably show that real quick. So if you've ever seen through the doors in some of the other videos, this is a Toyota Corolla hatchback. And I believe they call that fire blue. And my wife just absolutely loves that color, and so do I. And we're going to try and get... okay, this is kind of sort of metallic, but not really. Well, if you get real close, like it's sort of metallic. It's kind of sparkly, but not like what you would think most metallics would look like. But it's a really nice color, and I think we're gonna try doing something similar with the plane, so you can see the black accents on the car. We're gonna do something similar. Not deliberate, just to copy the car. It's just we like that color scheme. And regardless of what color the car happened to be, we would have gone with the that lighter blue anyway. And when after I painted this, because on the website this looks a little bit lighter than it actually is. They have another color, the Total Boat that I got this from. They have another color, and I can't remember what it is offhand. It's a very light blue, like a baby blue. It's even lighter than the car. And I think that's just too light. I basically want something that's just like the car, but a little bit darker, but not quite as dark as this. And I think on the camera, it probably looks like I'm just looking at the display on the camera, and it looks a little bit lighter on the camera than it actually is. It's actually a little bit darker than that. If it was that color, I'd probably be okay with it, but it's actually a little bit darker than that. But I just think the vinyl is a better option. So getting back to the construction, so I basically got Clecos all along the edge of this, and it's going to stay that way until I get the rest done. So this here is one of the rods. I just primed it, and I'll paint it black like the other rods later. But this has got, if I can get close enough, I don't know if it'll focus or not. There's a threaded rod end on each end that's that I just finished welding and grinding down and getting like perfectly smooth so I could paint it. So that's waiting to dry, and I'm just going to leave that overnight. Being in this area, it's so it connects down here somewhere, and I'm making some brackets, and I can't remember exactly where they go. I think they go here. So those are the brackets there. I've got this one marked out, but I haven't cut it out yet, and the other one isn't marked out at all. Like some of the other parts, it's often easier just to do one and then make a carbon copy of it, but those I'm just going to wait and cut out later. I'm not going to do it today. So that's basically where everything sits right now. There's a couple other parts that need to be made, and then I can start putting them on the back of the plane there. So that is the job for next couple days. Okay, today is Sunday, March 12th, and so I got these put in the correct spot. So that is all the real construction that I got done. You can see that swivels. You can see that swivels like so, and it connects to the it connects to that crank that sits right here. So this guy here, I fit it on top of here and right snug up against that. There's a very small piece of spar that comes out, and it probably meets flush with the bottom of this. And the larger piece comes down like this, and it's roughly centered in the center of this. You cut a hole through the skin to get the spar to come through here, and there's a couple of smaller pieces that kind of come down like that, in front of the vertical stabilizer piece. So so now that this is in, I basically just have to put the screws in, and then run the cables from the end of this all the way down to these, which actually controls the rudder. So the next step will be to put the trim control in, which is a push-pull cable, and it just kind of weaves its way through the fuselage. I'll have to look at the drawings and see exactly where it goes. And there's a bunch of hardware that needs to be made to hold everything in place, but I don't expect that to be too difficult. It'll just be tedious because it's a bunch of small parts. So that is about it for today. Okay, today is March 19th, 2023, Sunday. So today's business was getting this part all functional and making sure that this guy has enough swing in both directions. And I wanted to, lesson learned from the previous kind of mistake where I thought that the hole needed to be higher. I wanted to be careful and only do as much as possible. I probably took a little bit out here that wasn't necessary, but there's a good amount of leeway for that rod to swing through. So I don't think that I'll actually be able to go all that, because I gave it a fair margin. You can see I had to cut out some of the just a small amount of that spar in order to get the amount of travel that I needed. That's why there's kind of a hole there, and I put some extra bolts down on the bottom and in the middle to compensate for that. One up here where this gusset, a lot of the material is gone. So I put a bolt there so it wasn't going to be hanging kind of open-ended against that edge. And that's about as far as it'll ever go. So there may not even be a need, but here that's roughly 25 degrees of travel, which is more than enough. The actual deflection is about the limit of the deflection. I think is there somewhere, and I gave it a fair margin. I just wasn't comfortable because if you look at where that rod meets the spar, that was negligibly 15 degrees, and the instructions say at least 15 degrees, and the bar was literally bumping up against there at 15 degrees, and I just wanted to give it a little bit more of a margin. So I decided, F it, I'm gonna cut into there and then just give it some extra support once I cut just what's absolutely necessary to give that a little extra room to move. So you can see that rod kind of swings out and around as you're moving the rudder back and forth. So that rod is connected to that swivel, and then this swivel has a couple of where am I at here? This swivel has a couple cables running to the front through several support brackets, and then all the way down to the front here attaches to the rudder pedals. So that's how that works. So the all the fiddly bits for the rudder are complete in the back here. The next step is going to be putting the cables in for that, and then running them down to the to the rudder pedals. There's some brackets to make and some cables that are similar. Well, they're not similar, they're the exact same as these. So pretty much the exact same thing, just a lot longer. And they'll run, all the way from there, all the way down to the rudder pedals. So that is the progress for Sunday. Okay, today is Friday, March 24th, 2023. And all I really got done today was this little bit up in here, just getting a strip to go along the back where I modified that gusset, so it'll give it a little bit of strength on the back end. So I also want to put another spacer in there and another screw. So like you can see on the back side there, it's not like flush up against the metal. So I'd like to just get it nice and tight along here, but it's it's definitely holding for now. It's just not like it wasn't before, but I just want, like, I've already got the front part of that already replaced. It's just the back part. And again, if like yours might be different, it's just if you look at that, it was that's about 0.3 inches too far. This is 2.3 inches too far forward, and it's not because of any spacing back here, because I did put some extra spacers here so that the metal wasn't like sagging in any place, but there's no difference in the thickness back here, so that's not what caused it. It was just a little bit off. No biggie. It's just a little bit of extra work to kind of redesign that so it can mount securely on the front of there. Now I've just started making these little things out of these phenolic sheets, and it looks like there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them, maybe 6, and they mount along the tail there, the back of the fuselage, to run the cables for the rudder. Just a matter of making all these. It's getting cold in the hangar. It was really nice the last couple days, but it's just started getting really cold, so I'm gonna call it a night and come back tomorrow when it's hopefully sunnier. I don't know if you can hear that, but it's raining like crazy. So that's it for tonight. Okay, today is Sunday, March 22nd, 2023. It takes a long time to make those stupid brackets or adapters, whatever you want to call them. So these guys here mount, I believe, here on a set of aluminum brackets that I haven't made yet. So yeah, it takes a long time to they're small and everything. You gotta be very meticulous. So that's the other bracket that I made today. So that one's already bolted on and ready to go. There's nothing to do. So that one's bolted on and ready to run the cables through. So I just have this last one to make, and then I can start making the cables to run to this swivel here. So and you can see, it's fully functional. It just doesn't have anything to connect to yet. So should be able to get those last two metal brackets that those two micarta pieces mount onto, put on here, and then run, and then I can start running the cables through there. It's a long slog making all those all these little cable guides, but once that's done, making the cables should be pretty easy, and I'll actually have a functional rudder pedals I'm hoping to have that done sometime this coming week. The weather is getting much nicer. I don't know if it'll blind the camera, but it's a perfect day outside. I'm actually wearing shorts today. So that's where that sits for today. Hopefully I'll get to the rest of it sometime later this week. Okay, today is Wednesday, March 29th, 2023, and just today's project was basically building those two metal brackets and bolting them together with the phenolic sheet that the cable runs through. So those are just attached loosely. I think what I'd like to do is take those back off. I just wanted to make sure that everything was straight and level and even and all that. So I'm going to take those loose bolts off and just paint them black so that it matches the same color. Even though you'll never see anything. Just all the brackets I've painted black. Basically all the control mechanisms are black, so I'm gonna stick with that. So and I'm done for the day anyway, so I can just quickly paint these and then leave. So that's the last set of brackets. From just quick looking at drawing, I had mentioned that they were further back here, but they're not. So that's the last set of brackets. So there's this one, that one, this one, and that one. So the cables will run through there, or from there to there, through the bucket, through that, and then through that one, and then through this one, and then all the way up to here. And that linkage is already finished and everything. Now that I'm getting closer to putting the cables in, there's no reason why I can't bolt those in now and take the clecos out. I'm going to leave all the clecos in for the vertical stabilizer, just because it's got to come back off. This thing is going to get sanded down pretty smoothly, painted white, and then I'm going to redo that paint scheme in vinyl, so there'll be a little bit of a white border, like right in between here, so you'll see the white paint through the two vinyl strips. So that's how that is gonna work, and I've found some vinyl that just looks great. So that is going to look awesome, and as far as I'm concerned, it's easier to work with than trying to get this paint perfect. I'm not patient enough to just polish and polish and polish and redo and polish to get it perfect. If I wanted it. It's just not worth it. So at least not to me. I know the vinyl doesn't last quite as long as paint, but I think that's what we're gonna go with because it just looks so nice when it's done. So yeah, I think that's it. It is April 2nd, 2023. So just thought I'd take a quick video of what I'm working on, getting this rigging done. So you can see the rudder isn't straight, so I'm still got a couple tweaks to do, but these clips grab enough and they have enough give, so when I move the pedals down there, I can get close enough to the right tension, and I've got these mostly threaded out, so there's just not enough there's tension, but I know there's not enough tension in these, so I'm going to get as much tension as possible and then tighten those up. Sort of the same thing I did with the ailerons over there, but this is what I'm trying to do right now. So So I've got these clipped here, and then over here. So over here, I've got these, and you can see I've still got to tweak things because it's out of place. So I want those two sticky outy things to be perfectly vertical, and I'm using just rope to hold the pedals still. Otherwise, every time you yank on the cable, the pedals just fall forward because there's nothing holding them back. So I've got another one on the other side, and I've got as much tension. Of course, there's a little bit of give in the rope, but it's tight enough that that'll hold everything still. And then once I have everything perfectly straight, I will go ahead and swage those and make them permanent, and then I can tighten them down with the turnbuckles. So I just got to tighten these turnbuckles and straighten out the rudder and get everything perfectly vertical over there, and then is done now. Took a lot longer than I expected, pretty much like everything else. So now that this is done, it will be time to start building out the console here, and getting the trim control mounted in there, and then the cable run. There's some small cable brackets to be made similar to those for the push-pull cable for the trim. I don't expect that one to be very difficult. The time-consuming part will just be making the console. These here are a little bit forward just from me tugging on the turnbuckles over there. Once there's springs in here, I can probably loosen them up a little bit so they'll sit more the way they're supposed to when it's when the rudder's centered. So that's pretty much it for today. So I'm waiting for part to cool again, so I figured I'd document this as well. Like all the other round parts, the inside diameter of these brackets needs to be reamed out a little bit. It won't. The bronze bushing that goes inside of it is just a fraction of an inch too big. What I found, that's a die grinder. These little sanding pads work pretty good. It took about, I don't know, maybe 15-20 minutes of sanding that just around and around and around and around. That's why it looks so polished. Just sanding that for 15 or 20 minutes got it to the size that it needs to be, and it slips in really easy now. So when you get to that step, you probably want a die grinder or drill or something, and some of these round sanding bits. Okay, so you can see with the spacer there, it completely clears that. It probably wouldn't really matter, but I wanted to get the. It doesn't matter because that needs to be cut out anyway. And there's a fair amount of clearance as they show in the drawings. Like you cut a hole, about yay big around the circumference that's covered there. So it probably wouldn't matter anyway, because it would never have touched the metal anyway. But the other reason for doing that is to get the slot closer to where they show it in the drawings, because on this side here, you can't, the bell crank is around there somewhere. The closer it is to this side, the less chance there is of running into issues up against here, because there's a rod that connects to that all the way up to there. So the less chances I have of any issues up against the side of that, the better. So the drawings appear to be actually very accurate, and the slot needs to be in a certain place. So that's what I'm gonna do. And just with the addition of that, I don't know if you can see it or not, just with the addition of that little spacer in there, it gets it right where it needs to be. Okay, now I have a perfect copy of the side of the console, including the positions of all the holes that need to be drilled. So that came out really nice. It looks exactly like the paper cutout, because it is. And I also have an exact template that's cut out where I use the razor blade on the template itself. So if I decide to use that again, I can. But what I'll probably do is just use a felt marker or a pencil around the edge of this one once it's all cut out to make the next one. So next job is to cut this out. Okay, today is April 18th, 2023. So I finished cutting this out and shaving it down to the exact dimensions. And so these edges here and along here, they're marked on either side. But obviously there's no point in marking it on both sides. So those edges along there and there all fold to fit to the various pieces that are already in the cabin. So this is just sitting here waiting to be used as a stencil for the other side. These edges folded in the other direction, obviously, because it's on the other side. And I can just use a punch through these existing holes and mark where they need to be on the other side, and I'll be good to go. This takes a little while to cut out and shave down. I kind of landed on using a die grinder to get it down to the edge. This edge here is from the original piece that was already perfectly straight, so I didn't have to do anything. But this one here, you can see a little bit of roughness from cutting it out. Not really roughness, but scratches. So I just need to cut this one out, and then there's another piece that goes on top of those, and probably a few more things that I completely forgot about. And then that rod that goes up and around here somewhere, I can tie the springs for the rudder pedals, and then finally finish off that little piece and start playing airplane with the pedals that actually work. So just doing a raw fitment. This lines up really well here and here. Over here, it looks like it's about 1/4 of an inch forward. And I believe that's the only issue, because that lines up so well. And there's even the proper amount of space and everything for the rod for the aileron. So I believe this just needs to come back. That bottom cutout, it just needs to come out about 1/4 of an inch, so it'll fit down there nice and snug. And this is it's kind of hard to see, but that's the traced version of the other side that I'll be doing tomorrow. I was going to try and get that primed, but I think I'll just wait till next time I come out, because it takes quite a while to mix it up and everything, and I want to get home. So that's where we're leaving it today. Okay, today's Thursday, April 20th, and I just finished building out the top of the console, so everything's bent and ready to be match drilled. And I'm not going to put the bolts in quite yet. I'm just going to cleco everything in. And that little piece there still needs to be made, and then this whole thing rivets to the floor. The top part is bolted on for obvious reasons, so you can get to the cables if you need to, you know, for regular maintenance. So that's where it sits right now. I didn't have enough time to finish it, to get all the holes drilled so I could prime it, but I should be able to get at that tomorrow. Okay, today is April 21st, Friday. So this pile O parts is all of the pieces for the console, and I was getting ready to prime these and realized I don't have any spray primer left. I don't really want to bother using the epoxy on this because it's just not necessary. All these are match drilled now, except for the very back end over here where that small piece goes on, but I can do that later, and I can do it when I come back anyway, because I don't have any paint or any primers, and get it installed into there. You can see the holes that are drilled for that large plate with the notch in it. So that's already. It was a bit of a pain to do because you have to kind of basically install everything and cleco it all together before you start match drilling, because nothing's going to match if you don't do that. So I had to kind of cleco everything together, get it where everything's going to be, and then drill it, and then take it apart again. Had to do that a couple times with the clecos, but all the holes match nicely, so that's good, and it fits nice and flush on there. Hopefully in another day or two that part will be done, and then I'm going to get busy with this side of the console that kind of goes up the other way, and I still have that bit. I still have that bit here to do where I was going to shorten that rod, but haven't gotten to it yet. So once I'm done the console area, I'll come back here and fix that, and then get rid of that mess and do it properly. Okay, today is April 22nd, Saturday, 2023. So all these pieces are obviously primed now, and started attaching them to the floor and to the front there. So this is kind of all crooked because there's nothing holding it. There's nothing holding it to the top side because the top piece isn't on there. But I started clecoing it to the floor and getting everything aligned and everything. So what remains is to finish the little bit of clecoing just to keep it secure on the floor. I'm not going to do all of them. And then same with here, cleco those to the front, and then confirm everything is still straight. You may notice that this console deviates from the plans just slightly. I made this come wider. It's actually kind of a good thing because it makes the console an extra 2 inches wider, and it doesn't interfere with the pedals. So I think that's still fine. Like, these pedals aren't anywhere near that close. They actually sit up there. It's just the cable's loose right now because there's nothing, there's no springs or anything to hold them. So this console will get secured to there, and then I'll be putting the rod in. So with the top on there, I haven't secured it at all, obviously, but you can kind of see what it's gonna look like when it's done. So pretty happy with it. It's just a matter of, you know, getting everything perfectly aligned. You can see the lines on the floor there, or maybe not, from me getting everything lined up. And I've got, you know, scrap pieces of metal that were keeping it in place while I was, you know, tracing lines and stuff, and using a T-square to make sure it was straight. So this is just a matter of finishing the clecoing. Obviously needs to be riveted and you know, screwed along the top. Okay, today is Sunday, April 23rd. Finally got this all clecoed down. So I've got to take, the only reason I put the top on is it keeps it much more straight and secure while you're getting everything lined up. So I'm going to take these two tops off and get that final piece on the end there for the pedal springs installed, and then I should be able to actually test the rudder pedals for real and do that bit over there that needs to be fixed. So may get to that today and may not. So okay, today is Tuesday, April 25th, 2023. This is actually take 2. I didn't start recording the last time. So I should have left this off before I made the video. I just wanted to test and make sure everything was okay, and then I'm like, oh, I don't feel like taking it apart just to make a video, and I'll have to take it off again tomorrow. What I ended up doing was I slotted the end of that because it's almost impossible to get that because it's not like a single rod that goes through the whole thing. I made the end slotted so I can just push it on in place of instead of you know, running the rod through the hole. And then there will be some stops on each side of those bolts so they can't come out. So what that is there's two long AN3 bolts going through the center of that rod to hold it in place, and then the springs are mounted there on the rudder pedals. And like I mentioned, well, I guess I mentioned before I realized the video wasn't running, these are super tight now, probably a little too tight, but so I'm not going to do this tonight, but this is all hooked back together. So this will actually that giant space and conglomeration of stuff to move it out is all coming out, and it's just going to be the two spacers with nothing, and then the two stop bolts will be the same size. You can see I've got one that's obscenely long because this pivot was because this rod was too long. The pivot was, you know, way too this way. If I can get the camera, it was pivoted this way because this rod is just slightly too long. Even with the adjustments all the way down, it's still too long. So I'm gonna make a cut there, and then reattach it and just take like half an inch or an inch out. I'll have to do the measurement to know exactly how much I'm going to take out, but it definitely needs to be shortened. And then all this can be normalized. The only thing that'll deviate from the original design is these two steel extensions that I made, and I almost kind of prefer that. It gets the cables out of the way of in here. And it swivels just as smoothly as if the cables were actually inside. It wasn't deliberate. It was because I made the cables slightly too short, but it still works better. So you know, win-win. So right now you can see because that rod is too long, the rudder is almost, I'd say it's about halfway deflected to the full, what is that, right hand position, because that rod is too long. But once it's shortened, everything will be right in the world, and this will behave like it's supposed to, except for those little extensions. So that's all that needs to be done to declare the rudder done. There's a slot for the trim control, and it mounts inside of there, and then it mounts to a push-pull cable, and it goes all the way down there, obviously, and then it hooks up to the a trim menagerie of more rods and stuff to control the trim tabs on the back of the elevator. So a little bit more to do. The console, as far as the actual box itself, is done, but all the goodies inside that I'll show tomorrow or when I get back to this, that still has a little bit left to do. So it's coming along. Okay, today is Thursday, April 27th, 2023. So I got just about all of this put back together. The only thing I have to finish putting in is the little bracket that bracket that holds the two stop bolts, which is very easy deal. I just need to get home. It's getting late. So this just needs to be screwed on, basically. All this has been tightened back up. I don't have that menagerie of stuff in there anymore. That was my solution to that rod being too long. So there's a steel dowel inside of there, and then two lashes to hold it together, and it's not going anywhere. It's a little uglier than it was before, but it performs the exact same. I can't put too much stress on the rudder without using the pedals, but you can see that it works fine. So yeah, that swivel isn't all stressed to one side anymore. And there's probably a little bit of fine tuning that I need to do, but I can swing both pedals in both directions without anything catching or anything like that. Everything works great. So the next step is to start securing some of this stuff. This cover is just held on with screws, and so far I haven't been able to find them, but I don't think they're terribly expensive. So if I can't find them, I'll just go get some, or get some from Aircraft Spruce if I have to. So that was my ultimate solution. You can see that kind of bends a little bit from the stress, because this lid is actually part of the reinforcement. Right now, the springs are on there and they're applying tension, and the probably a little too much tension given how tight that is. But so far it works great, and yeah, it's just everything works the way it was supposed to. Those springs make a huge difference. They're a little difficult to get on. I found I had to take the nut completely off and slide it on the end, because getting that hook over the end, those springs are pretty stiff, so getting them over the end is a little difficult. But you just loosen it from that end, and then connect the springs, and then I just tied ropes from the pedals over to here to take some of the tension off on each side as I put the turnbuckles back on the end there. So that was all that was required to do that. It wasn't super hard. It was just fixing my boo-boo of making that rod not way too long. It was almost exactly an inch too long. The next job is cutting a slot in the top of this, and there is the little push-pull quadrant dealie that pokes through for adjusting the trim. There's a push-pull cable that goes all the way down there to the end. Okay, today is Sunday, April 30th, 2023, and so I got these two painted and mounted. Like I mentioned before, I need to get a proper castle nut for that bolt. I'll be ordering those this weekend. Hopefully they'll be here, within a week or so. But I probably won't get to actually doing anything with this until those arrive anyway, so not a big deal. So I painted that little patch piece that I made just so it looks nicer. There's no that's steel, it's not aluminum, so a little bit of corrosion protection. I'm not super worried about it, but I just wanted to give it a blast real quick before I called it completely done. So this is the rod in the front, and I'll kind of describe that in a little bit. So those are the first two sections of the console that go here, and then there's another big long section that goes in here, and the cutouts are obviously offset because this is at an angle. So on the left side is the offset is shorter than the other one, and they fit over top of that, and then they connect up to that bracket, so that the back end of the console goes all the way back to that bracket. For this, what I'm going to do, I mentioned that rod before, so I'm going to secure those bolts inside of that rod, either with really strong adhesive, the same adhesive that's used for the skin. So the same adhesive that holds those together. So the center part of that is hardwood, and the outside is aluminum. That's probably covered in one of the much earlier videos. And the same for this one in here. The outside is aluminum, and the center part is hardwood. So that same strong adhesive, I'm going to secure the bolts inside of that rod, and then instead of the rod resting on the edges of that, you see it's not bowed out because there's no strain on it. I'm going to take this front plate out, which means I've also got to well, I might be able to get that plate out without taking all of this out, but I probably have to take it out. And the only reason I secured it every single hole was just to keep it straight. When I go to put it back in, I'll only put 6 or 7 of them, because it's not that necessary to have that many securing in there. So once this is out, I'll take that out and put just a simple L bracket in there, right where the bolt would have sit on the in the holes in the holes there. You can see they're very close to the edge there. So the bolt will rest in there in those holes, but it won't be actually touching. It won't be putting any strain on the metal. All the strain will be on the L bracket. So and none of this would. The only reason I have to change this design a little bit, number one, I kind of like the fact that the console is a little bit wider in the front here, and also these were mounted about an inch too far apart on each side, about 3/4 of an inch on each side. Otherwise, they would have fit inside the standard kind of skinny console. But even though this was a mistake, I kind of like it that way. So. I'm not going to, take all this out and remount it just for 3/4 of an inch. And I like this better anyway. onto there. So the L bracket will be about, you know, here somewhere to hold up the that rod, and then I'll quit fidgeting with it. So the next bit is to build out the rest of the console that goes all the way out to that plate. You know, the console mounting there gives it a good, strong, secure place to mount to, and there's no reason to extend it any further. So that will complete the console part of the build, and once that is done, I need to put the control in, mount it in here, and it sticks out of there, and then run the cable and make the couple brackets that need to be made to run all the way down here that hook up to this. I can't say for sure exactly how this hooks up because I didn't look at the drawings past building this because I had to finish all the other stuff over there. But the trim control cable will come up here, and of course this is a bell crank that will hook up to the trim tabs on the back of the elevator. So that's about all I really know about that right now. That's all I can describe right now because I haven't looked at the drawings to see exactly how everything hooks up. So it is coming along. You can see these cables are limp again because I took the springs off the I took the springs off the front there in order to take the rod off and just paint it, even though it doesn't really need to be painted. And it's probably going to get all scratched up from the springs anyway. I just wanted to paint it black like everything else. So once I get back, it's basically taking all this stuff out, putting that L bracket in the front plate, and then putting it all back in. And then it's on to installing those two small plates and building the rest of this last section. Now the camera makes that look a lot bigger than it is, just looking at the screen while I'm recording this. You know, if I stand back, that kind of gives you a better idea without the distortion that the camera's causing, how long that piece of the rest of the console is. So you can see that little small section goes right up to the to that back bracket, and then the rest of it mounts after that. So that's what needs to be done coming up, and hopefully this week I can get that all done. Okay, today is Thursday, May 4th, 2023. So, you probably hear it's raining outside, so if there's some noise in the background, it's the rain hitting the metal roof. So I got all this finally riveted down, and all that stuff taken care of, the front. So that this whole area here is completely done. I'm leaving those springs undone because the cables get in the way of trying to get in there. Of course, I'll be riveting from the underside, but just getting the clecos in there is a bit of a chore with the cables in the way. So I'm just leaving them loose until I get all this done. It does look very cool though with the springs on there, and you can actually use the pedals and see the rudder moving back there. But besides playing airplane, this is what I've gotten done so far. So today, I guess. So this is all riveted down, and this I'm just gonna leave this for now and call it a day. I guess I should also mention I So on the front here, suspiciously missing anything on the front here. I think I had mentioned in several videos that I was going to stick with the Viking 195 turbo with a Duke adjustable propeller, a constant speed propeller, but I think I don't want to do that anymore. There's been some discussion about cooling, and it's not so much that the Viking can't be cooled; it's that it's going to be draggy, and that kind of negates the whole point of going with the Bede over something else. Was that it was for a high wing, it's very fast, so. Instead, I am seriously considering a UL 520 IS and an Airmaster constant speed prop that's also electrically adjustable. And it's even mated to that specific engine and balanced for it and everything else. So, there's less work for me to do. It's easier to install. I don't have to worry about the dragginess of trying to mount a radiator and get cooling through there, and then figuring out a way to get the air past the radiator without it being so draggy. And the UL power is a very new, very modern engine, so I think that's a really great compromise. And it's a little more powerful. It's 200 horsepower, and with that Airmaster prop, I think it's going to be an excellent combination. So I'm trying to get pricing from Bede for that, and once I get pricing, I will start seriously considering purchasing that and then getting on the wait list to get that shipped. I think what I was told was a 10-week lead time, so hopefully that holds true. It's going to take a good 10 weeks to get close to ever needing to install the engine, but I want to get started on that process now. So when I am ready, the engine will be here. Even if it ends up sitting for another month, but at least I'll have it here and then it'll be ready. And I also discuss getting a mount from Bede, and Bede does make mounts, or at least they're able to make mounts for that engine. So it's basically one-stop shop. I'm just getting everything from Bede. They have special pricing on those engines and propellers anyway, so I'm just going to get everything from them, including the mount. Okay, today is Saturday, May 6, 2023. Both of these console pieces at the back are done, and the top is done. Obviously, it's not primed yet. So that's what I'm going to call it a day and leave it there. I'm going to clean this piece of all the fingerprints and stuff, and then prime it, and then call it a day. So I didn't get to doing the trim at all. So basically, all of today was just fitting those, matching them to the holes for the other one that was already done, and cutting this top part out and bending it, which takes a while. But that's where this sits today. I haven't gotten to that. Hopefully tomorrow I will be starting on the trim control and running the cable and whatever brackets are necessary all the way to the back there. So stay tuned for that. It is really coming down. I don't know if you can even hear me. It's so loud in here. Okay, today is Tuesday, May 9th, 2023. So this is the bracket, the very end bracket that holds the push-pull cable that will come out here-ish and eventually hook up to some doodads to control the trim back here somewhere. So this went fairly smooth. It takes quite a while to put that together, both measuring everything out to make sure you're in the right spot and just putting all those nut plates and everything. There's nut plates on each corner of those. So this here is two pieces. It's kind of hard to see because it's black, but you can see that engineered spot for the push-pull cable is mounted through that. I guess you can't really see it. There's through that hole there. So there's basically two angles that are cut and mated together, and then that gets mated to this piece of angle, and then everything gets screwed on, comes so. So that is that portion done. So the next step is creating the bracket and putting the control quadrant on the bracket. And once all that is in and the cables run through there, I can hook these springs back up, put the tops back on, screw everything down, and Bob's your uncle. So that is going to be the task for the next day or two, getting all that in and getting the cable run and eventually closing everything out. So that's it for tonight. Okay, today is Thursday, May 11th, 2023. So I've got that bracket on there now for the trim control. That thing's a little tall, probably want to trim that up, but for now I'm just going to leave it. So that bracket is in. It's not riveted down yet, and you can see by the alignment there that the spacer that I made for this is just a little bit not quite large enough. I thought it was actually too big, but it's actually a little bit too small. So the spacer that I'm referring to is, one second. Okay, so the spacer that I'm referring to is that guy there, because this console splays out slightly. That was a change that I made, partially due to the width of those posts being a little bit too far apart, and I just kind of like it larger. So the effect of that, of course, is because this mounts onto this fairly robust bracket that will be riveted into here. It has to be offset. You can see that is angled, and it's just about maybe 1/8 of an inch, a little more than 1/8 of an inch too thin. So if I just create another spacer that's a little bit thicker, that should be perfect. And I think I'm going to make one out of plastic instead of wood, and it's angled. It's basically doorstop, or it's a shim. So and it'll be perfect for that. So it's just a matter of making this spacer bigger. Then I can connect the cable up to this and get this all closed up and call it done. Okay, today is Friday, May 12th, 2023. So you can see I got this installed, and it's nice and even and perfect. The only caveat is right now this is left loose, so I can get the top in before I tighten this down. So this is the cable that is going to run all the way down that way from this trim quadrant. So this is pretty much dead center here, which puts it pretty close to those bolt bottoms. You can't see them, but they're about I would say about 1/8 of an inch from the floor when they're fully down. Obviously the sticks probably can't even go that low once everything is installed, like the seats and everything. But in any case, I'm just going to offset this slightly. And even if it's mounted at a very slight angle, this end here has a pivot in it, so I can still mount it, fairly straight, with no offset whatsoever, or just maybe like a washer or two or something, just to get a little bit off center away from those bolts, and just have it riding, about there. And then of course it has some flex in it, so once you're past this really stiff part, then of course that flexible cable can run up. But that part will have to wait until tomorrow, because it's getting late, and as you can see, been here a little later than usual. So I'm going to call it a night, but I'm glad that this is all installed. This is all riveted to the floor now. So this is extraordinarily stiff now, especially with the top on it. I was actually surprised how stiff that is once everything's put together. So tomorrow I will be finishing that rod, bell crank that I made earlier will have to be slightly modified and put back in. I will be putting all of the springs and everything back on there and sealing this all up. And if I have any time after all of that, I will be getting everything sorted in the back there, getting ready to put the elevator in. So hopefully I can at least tomorrow get all of this stuff done. That's the last of the big control stuff. At least the big control stuff that's mounted down here. There's still some rods and stuff that need to go up that way, and of course the flap handle. But at least I'm making some progress for this intersection here, and I can get that all settled, sealed up. And once that is done, I can also put the floor back in. So that will be cool. I can actually get up in the cabin and not worry about all this flex nonsense. I'll have plywood down on the floor, and it will it'll be quite a bit stronger. So what I had here before was obviously uncut. So I'm going to if I have time, I'll be when I go to put the floor back in, I of course have to cut it to size to go around all the structure that's here now. But I measured right, and all of the holes that I drilled for holding the floor down are still in open spots. They're not covered by anything, so I should be able to just put it right back the way it was, except for, of course, the cutouts for all the different areas of the fuselage or the cabin that have structure on them now. So I'm going to call it a night, and hopefully by the end of tomorrow I will actually have a video of everything done, and I can go ahead and publish it. So cross your fingers. One thing I forgot to document, part of what I did this evening was building this bracket that holds the push-pull cable. So this gets riveted back in here somewhere, back in this general area. So I may have to make some adjustments. I'm not sure yet, but right now I should be able to mount this without any that cable without any problems. Okay, what's today? Today's Saturday, May 13th, 2023. So I've got the one side of that off while I'm getting this cable in, because it's just too difficult to do with it on there. These are already riveted in, so I just have to work around them, but it's not as big a deal. The difficult thing is going to be getting the grommets in, because you have to put the grommet on the cable ahead of time. So this, you can see that little bracket underneath there is holding onto this. And of course, since I've got the console a little bit wider, I've got a lot larger bolt in there, and I'm just going to put some spacers in between to keep it all firm and together. But everything lines up, so I'm pretty happy with that. I just need to get everything. I'm going to rivet this down when I get back. I'm going to go eat and then probably come back. So I've got to rivet that down, make sure everything is in place before I do that, of course, and then get the end put on there, which is sitting there, onto there, and then it's off to. So I've got the cable running down as far as here, and then there's some clip-on clamps that hold it up against the side of the fuselage, and then it mounts back in here. So there's still a little bit left to do. The main thing is just getting all this hooked up. Obviously, it's cramped in there, but it does work, and everything is moving freely, and there's nothing binding or touching, so that's all good. It's just it just needs to be hooked up, and then I can start working on the other side. So rather than take all this stuff off, maybe what I'll do is use a flashlight. So you can see down in there that the cable mounts to that, and there's another bracket. You can where's it at? You can just barely see. So there's a bracket. You can just barely see it right there. That's the other mounting point for the other side of the cable. So there's really nothing to see in there. It is a bit cramped. I had to mount, because, and it's partly because I made this console wider than normal. There was a few design modifications, so that that bracket that's about here, it's mounted quite a ways over to the side, and it's kind of cut at an angle, because otherwise it won't clear this when it's all the way down. And you can see here, because of that that notch that needs to be cut, these don't go down all the way right now. So you can also see I made a mistake, and I initially mounted that the quadrant too high, so I'll need to put some plugs in those eventually to kind of hide my mistake. So the next step is starting to build out the structure and getting the elevator actually mounted on here. Of course, there's a little bit of work to do here, notching this, getting all the pins installed, because now that everything is done, I'm pretty confident in just pinning everything. I found the nuts that I thought I didn't have, so this needs to be replaced by a castle nut and a pin. The rest of this is good to go as you see it. So so all of the controls, save the rods for the ailerons and of course the big bar for the flaps, are finally done. It's getting a little later in the day, and I'm starting to get hungry, so I'm not going to put the flooring in today, but that's one of the other jobs, is putting back all of the wood flooring that was in here before, just to test fit everything. And now that all the structure is in there and there's nothing else to bolt or rivet to the floor, I can put that back in. Okay, today is Wednesday, May 17th, 2023. So just got the first section of the floor back in. I guess the hardest part was getting this measured so it was right butt up against there, and making sure that I could line the screws back up to where they were originally drilled. So that took a little while. You can see the marks where I was trying to line everything up. So that worked actually. Once you get one lined up, they're all lined up because it's in the exact same place it was before. So once I had that one, it was just a matter of screwing the other ones in, and they just went right in. So after that, it was pretty easy. So the other one, the other side's the exact same thing. I just haven't gotten to it yet. It's getting time to skedaddle. So I just thought I'd document that little bit. The other thing that I didn't video before, because the top was on and I was too lazy to take it off. So that is the bracket that is holding the push-pull cable. And like I was explaining before, you can see it's angled down, so it clears that. Again, these won't go down all the way because there's a notch that needs to be cut in the back there that's preventing this these from swiveling all the way down. So that is that guy there. I don't know if I also documented it, but you can see where I put that extra bit of a flat bar for the pedals for the stop screws. You can see like the top one wasn't in the right place for that one. It's fine for this one. So that's the springs, and that's the bolt on the L bracket that I made. And I still need to put some stops here and here. The chances of that coming out are almost nil, but I suppose it could happen. So better safe than sorry. So I'll put some stops there so those bolts can't move. But so far it works really well. The quadrant moves nicely in there. You can see I've got a couple of spacers to get it lined up with the cable. Everything just works great. So that's that. Next up is just getting the rest of the floor in. I'm going to I can go ahead and put the floor, the entire floor in without worrying about the brake lines. The brake lines come down here, and that's what these extra holes are for. Are for clips to hold the brake line up against there, and they come back here and then down here, and then inside some protective tubing, and then they get connected to the brakes. As soon as I get the flooring in, that is the next project. So this can just be declared as completely done, and then it's time to get back over there. The elevator, and then of course the wings. So starting to come together. I still haven't heard about the engine. I'm hoping to get an answer about that soon. I need to get that ordered and in process, because it takes a while for it to finally arrive. And in 10 weeks time, I'm not going to have probably not going to have the wings done, but I'm going to have a lot of other stuff done by then. So I really want to get that going. So today is Thursday, May 18th, 2023. So I screwed the top on that. That is likely not permanent, and it's probably not the fasteners that will ultimately go in there, but it keeps it together for now, and I will I'll put something more permanent in there later. So it does make it extremely sturdy, though. It's not going anywhere. So I also got the other side of the, I guess it's this one. I got the other side of the back floor back in, and this one was even easier to do because lessons learned from the first one. So the previous piece that I cut out was kind of a compromise because I cut slats along the side in order to get the entire piece in, which didn't really make sense because I knew that there was going to be a bunch of stuff going in here, and I was going to have to be cutting it out. But for whatever reason, I had it in my head that I wanted one giant flat piece, even though that was never going to be possible. It's going to become a worktop or something. So this is the new one. This is the same sheet, just the other half that was cut out that was never used. So I'm going to cut out fresh pieces, and they're all sized according to the new floor plan. So you can see I've traced out the passenger side front piece, and then I'll be going from there. But it's starting to get a little later in the day, so I'm just going to leave that measurement there waiting for me to cut it when I get back tomorrow. So that's where everything sits for now. Thanks for watching.